Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome into the Six Man Podcast brought to you by OXP Media. All right, so we are back at it again. I'm your host, Brandon Graham, alongside co-host Michael Roach. Of course,
What
we
up,
are.
Peachy?
What's going on? Right, once again, you can find us on SoundCloud, Spotify, wherever you find your listening to these, Apple Podcasts, wherever it may be. Of course, we're
Everywhere.
doing this everywhere. It does not matter. RSCs, it's everywhere. Anyway, so we are really excited to get into this and talk, of course, NBA, because that's a six-man podcast, and we're doing this again. Welcome in, man. How are you doing, Michael Roach?
My man, I can't complain whatsoever. Life is great, my friend. How about you?
Hey, life is good, 100%. It's a little bit down because of the pandemic, and we thought it would be, we get going from now, but there's more time on the clock, and of course, we're getting through this. But it is what it is, man. We're all getting through it. But the one thing that remains and hopefully doesn't change is the NBA. So let's get right into it, okay? We have the Raptors. When we get into Raptors, we'll get into Kyrie talk, but let's start in Houston, H-Town. James Harden and the Houston Rockets have decided to sit him until a deal is done, all right?
Yep.
He had his comments at the post-game press conference when they lost to the Los Angeles Lakers, all right? They gave a really good team, number one team in the West. John Wall's talking about, of course, James Harden needs to be gelled in. Not everyone's bought in. And James Harden said he's done everything he can. And he has to move on, right? They can't be fixed at all with this organization. Where do you think he goes, and what do you think about this entire what's transpiring right now in H-Town?
I don't know. Well, it looks like it's between two teams, Philadelphia and Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, yes.
And from what I've been reading online today, Philadelphia looks like they have an onslaught of first-round picks and some future picks, as well as pick swaps.
Mm-hmm.
And then Philadelphia is going to be around Ben Simmons and others, I'm assuming. I don't know who those other pieces are going to be. But, I mean, at what point, if you're the Houston Rockets, do you look at putting a Band-Aid on this thing, or do you look at just completely overhauling this thing altogether?
I'm going to say, especially for Coach Steven Silas, for Houston, right, you have to put a Band-Aid on this and you have to move forward. You can't let this be the object of the season and let it deter your entire year. Right? You have John Wall, you have DeMarcus Cousins, you have some young players in Houston. Steven Silas coming out literally today at around half an hour ago saying we felt it was best for the group and best for James not to come to practice. So that means right off the bat, he's saying we have to separate these two groups, right? We can't have anything toxic come into what we're trying to build here. And especially as a new coach, you have to establish yourself as that leader and be like, hey, we don't want that garbage anymore. We have to move on with the guys that we have that are committed to what we want to sell here.
All right. So let's you and me, let's go into the scenarios for a second. So you're the Houston front office, right? And I'm Philadelphia. I give you Ben Simmons. Now you have Ben Simmons. What do you do with Ben Simmons and John Wall?
That's a worse combination.
Do you move John Wall to the shooting guard? Because you can't move Simmons there.
You have to move him to the shooting guard, right? And that means you have to create off the dribble as much as possible. But you have two players right there that aren't two point guards that aren't great 3-point shooters. That's a recipe for disaster, right? You're pretty much like it's worse than having John Wall and Ben Simmons will be worse than having James Harden and Russell Westbrook in the fold, and it's worse than having James Harden and John Wall together, right? So
I wonder if it could work.
I don't think it. Well, you know what? They're trying to make, and this is my thing. All these guard combinations, okay? You had Chris Paul and James Harden, okay? You have a number of guards that play Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Whoever they pair James Harden with, they're the teams that experiment with this, and it doesn't work, right? Because you have a dominant ball handler, and you have to get it to another guard that needs to get it shot off and you don't play defense either. So I think what Steven Silas got to do is forget about the offense, worry about defense. You have Ben Simmons, who's a really capable defender. He's going to guard the perimeter. He's going to get stops. He's going to block. He's going to rebound. And of course, you have John Wall that can stay in front of opponents and do well there. So establish yourself defensively, and then worry about everything on offense later on. That's all you can do.
So let me ask you this: if you're Elton Brand and you're Daryl Morey now on the Philadelphia side, would you be willing to trade Ben Simmons for Harden?
Hey, I want to win now, right? You've seen the past 4 years, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid have been able to they needed an extra guy. They needed a Jimmy Butler. They needed JJ Redick. They needed more guys to play. Of course, you have Tobias Harris in the fold. But James Harden gives you a chance to win right now, compete with the Brooklyn Nets right now for that chance to go to the NBA Finals, right? You have to do it. You have to. A better shooter, better scorer in James Harden. Defense, you're obviously losing a little bit, but you have some other guys that can play some defense, and I think you'll buy in. Sometimes a change of scenery is great, and you were hoping as Elton Brand to kind of hammer in this guy like, yo, James Harden, stop eating so much. Hey, James Harden, play defense. Like, it's a different change of scenery. I think it could work for the Philadelphia 76ers.
I feel like if this trade happens with Philadelphia and Houston and they don't win it this season, I feel like Lowry ends up there next season.
Oh boy, that would be something. But now you have two guys once again that are dominant ball. Of course, Lowry's deferred to James Harden, but who is Lowry in that position? He's taking charges, he's making open shots, but you're not gonna like James Harden has never deferred to someone else. He's always been the dominant ball handler.
And he'll continue to be.
And he'll continue to be. Exactly, right? So, and him and Kyrie Irving in the same team would have been, like, literally the leather on the basketball would have tear off the basketball because they dribble way too much, right? So just think about it. Like, if Kyrie ends up there that next year, they can compete. They can do really well. But
yeah,
I think
especially when you have Embiid, Harden, and Lowry.
And Tobias Harris, right? Hopefully you can bring all those guys. Hopefully you have enough money on the books to do that. But I think Philadelphia's in the best position here. A lot of money, but I think Philadelphia's in the best position here because they can't lose. You either get a great perennial all-star, or you stick with your guys. You're still number 2 in the Eastern Conference. You're going to make a push this year, right? You're in a good position if you're Philadelphia right now.
I don't know if I give up on Ben Simmons already though. Like, that's a tough. I don't know. That one's tough.
Hey, but
we're gonna have to go back at that. We're gonna have to talk about this a bit later.
Last thing I'll say about that is that you saw Masai Ujiri take the chance and get Kawhi Leonard, right? Give up some assets to get the Kawhi Leonard, right? You're gonna have to make a chance if you're gonna have any shot of beating the Brooklyn Nets or the LA Lakers. You have to make a chance. You have to make a risk. You have to. That's just the name of the game. If you want to win the championship, right? So give up on Ben Simmons. Like, let him go. Hopefully you can draft another guy down the line. You got to let go of that. You got to move forward if it's not working. But anyways, you want to move on here?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's go to the Toronto Raptors. Okay, the Toronto Raptors are 21st ranked in defensive efficiency this year. Second worst record in the league right now, 2-8 with the Detroit Pistons. Really ironic how Dwayne Casey and Nick Nurse have that second last.
Listen to some of these numbers from as of Saturday. So it probably changed a little bit, but as of Saturday night, the Raptors were 23rd in points per game, 22nd in rebounds per game, 24th in three-point field goal percentage, and 30th in field goal percentage.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Yeah, those numbers are awful. And what that points to is you're missing the likes of Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, right? You're not getting anything from Aaron Baines and Alex Lint, but you're not getting anything there. And also, as you pointed out on your podcast, the Mike Rose podcast, 12 free throws against the Portland Trail. 12 free throws the entire game.
In the entire basketball game.
A 48-minute game. Ridiculous, right? Ridiculous. So with this, one thing that I think is a positive, of course, there's so many negatives that you can point to. They've led in pretty much a number of the games. They led in 6 games. They led by 17 against the Portland Trailblazers, right? 17 points. They cannot close.
I swear they've been pretty much up double digits in almost every game they've played this season.
It's felt like that, right? They're really hot from the three-point line in the first half. In the second half, just something happens. They're not able to withstand any run from any team. They can't come back from it.
But BG, you know the thing that feels different about the Raptors this year?
What?
The sad part about this is every game, especially the last 2, and when you look at the Portland game, even when they were up by 17, I still felt like I knew they were going to lose the game.
Yeah, that's what you have. That's what it is, right? Because the reason why I think that's the case, because you're not seeing any flow or pretty much some not repeatedness, but you're not seeing any consistency, right?
Right.
You're
No
seeing
fluidity whatsoever.
there's no fluidity offensively at all, right? And defensively, there's no fluidity.
Yeah, on
They
both
can't get a
ends.
stop. That's what it is, right? And last year, you're so accustomed to seeing them being able to stop runs and then go on a run, and then you have the confidence to see these guys be able to come back and withstand deficits. It can't happen now because first of all, you don't have anyone at the four position or the five. Chris Boucher is doing a really good job right now, but he's like once again bonjour, but he's not the long-term answer, right? You're missing that. You're not like you're looking for points from Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, he's playing up to his contract, playing really well, Kyle Lowry, and those three. If OG's not that doesn't get a good a good start, if Norm Powell's not playing against a bad team, you're not getting a good game from these guys, right? So that's what it comes down to. There's no fluidity, right? And I agree wholeheartedly with that. So that's the reason why you're seeing this team struggle as much as they are, and you don't have any confidence that they can actually hold a lead unless it's against a really bad team. But you got Charlotte coming up twice. You have Dallas, you have Milwaukee coming up. So you hope that they can get come into a run and get out of right now they're 11th spot in the East.
And this is what I was saying too. At some point on this home stretch, if things don't get well for you or things don't go right for you, the panic button is going to be hit by a lot of people here because, number one, I understand it's Charlotte, but whenever the Raptors play Charlotte, they give them trouble.
Yes,
and then
exactly.
Kristaps Porzingis is back in the lineup for Dallas. So you're going to be playing Dallas after 2 games against Charlotte. And then after Dallas, you play Miami in a back-to-back. And Miami's not easy. They're no pushover either. So you have 5 tough games that are going to be coming up here.
Right. Absolutely. And then once again, it's a 5-game homestand. The next 10 days from now are going to be very important. Hopefully we can come back and do another show and see exactly where they are.
And remember, BG, on a typical 82-game season, after about 18 or 20 games, the projection that you're currently after 18 to 20 games, you're projected to land in the same spot you currently are. There's little movement after that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So now you're in a 72-game season. So look maybe 15 or 16 games into the season.
Yeah, you're gonna have
there's going to be little movement. There will be movement because things are still kind of out of whack when you look at, teams in 9th, 10th, 11th place, like Brooklyn is probably in like 9th place or 8th place. And there's still a whole bunch of craziness going on, but teams aren't going to be moving wildly to a bunch of different spots. By the time you play another 6 or 7 games, be prepared for things not to move around that much in the standings.
No, that's a great point. And the Nets as well, 6 and 6 or 7th right now. They're going to creep up, right?
Yeah.
But speaking, and the last thing I'll say about the Raptors, it's really underrated exactly how being at home in Toronto with the crowd really affects this team. Like you have that energy from the crowd, like the best fans in the world when it comes to basketball. Like that's a great push, and the guys thrive off that. Being in Tampa where fans aren't even wearing their mask and they're cheering for another team, that can be discouraging.
They don't even care. They're cheering for the opposite team.
It's absolutely
every game is an away game for the Raptors at this point.
Exactly right. So they got to find something in themselves to kind of creep back. And Aaron Bates, get him out of here, Masai. Get him out, Bobby. Get him out. But anyways, we did talk about the 6 and 6 Nets.
I haven't seen
in
him.
Australia.
I haven't seen him since 1987.
Him and Matt Thomas are nowhere to be found. They're on Treasure Island. And listen, this is what I wanted to say. Okay, the 6 and 6 Brooklyn Nets. All right, are once again they get a good win against the Nuggets a few nights ago, last night.
Yeah, last night.
But their point guard, number 11, Kyrie Irving, is an absolute nut. Well, a lot of people are saying, yourself included, saying that he's having a lot of issues. And of course, you're fighting for social justice. You're fighting for the systemic racism in America. But Kyrie Irving, his priorities are not. Yeah, which is great, 100%. His priorities are not in basketball right now. What do you think Kyrie Irving should do with his career?
Well, I mean, his career will continue on the path that it's going. I mean, I don't see him going anywhere. He's there with KD, who's one of his very good friends. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about Kyrie Irving anymore. His personality is I don't even know how to explain it, to be honest with you. But he's an anomaly, to say the least. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
He seems like he's a very complicated person.
He is. Yes.
Um, it seems like there's a lot of things going on in his life. Even now, to make the decision to be at a birthday party with no mask on and people recording you and all that kind of stuff, like, I
It's
don't know
not
what's
smart.
going on with this guy right now. Something doesn't seem right.
Right.
Um, I mean, somebody probably needs to check the mental health of this young brother out. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. I don't think he's crazy or anything like that.
Right. Right.
I think he's a good dude, but I mean, that's just from what I've seen. I've heard him speak as an intelligent guy, but from a basketball standpoint, when you hear somebody say they didn't play because they just didn't want to. I mean, listen. I mean, I wish the rest of us little guys could say that.
I wish
We'll
that
call the boss today.
privilege.
How come you're not in today? I just didn't feel like it. Just didn't feel like it. Oh yeah.
That is, and that's the thing, right? Remember before the
I
year, he's like,
yeah.
yeah, we
I
don't have a
I love to tell the bosses for FedEx and the bosses from the Raptors broadcast team. I just didn't feel like coming in today.
I wish I
Ah,
could tell my students just think want to come in
oh
today.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly. No, I really think it's privilege at its
Sure, the
finest, right?
Raptors
It's him.
producers would be happy about that. Where's Mike? He didn't feel like coming in today.
I get him out of here. No, of course that wouldn't happen. But yes, Kyrie Irving has been a nutcase. He was at his sister's 30th birthday. All right, Asia Irving. Dad was there as well too. But having people in the crowd taking pictures, taking videos of you without a mask on, with it seemed like 50 plus people there is absolutely
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I mean,
Plus, and many are saying that he should just retire. Like, just enjoy the money you got, right? You got out of Boston. You're here in Brooklyn. You're finally happy. You're probably the most complicated athlete of our time, and
yep.
now you're doing this. It's
Here,
absolutely,
can I just read this to you quickly?
yeah.
It
Go ahead.
says Houston is pursuing a trade package from Philly,
Wow,
headlined by Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey.
Tyrese Maxey from Kentucky.
Tyrese
Wow,
Maxey, yeah, for
and
James
that was
Harden.
not Woj. That was not Woj either.
Who was this from? This is from Mark Stein.
Mark Stein. And then DeMarcus Cousins in the Harden's comments last night, he said the disrespect started way before any interview. So you see John Wall, you see DeMarcus Cousins not really liking, James Harden. There's a number of things happening. It would make sense. I told you, Philadelphia has the upper hand because yes,
No,
you have to get rid. They have the upper hand. Like you
mm-hmm.
can't lose if you're Elton Brand because you're going to get a great shooter, a great player in James Harden. It's a guy that's going to get you over the top because he can
Yeah,
score, he can do so much. He's
it
going to make
says
Joe.
Philly is also known to covet Houston's PJ Tucker. So they want PJ
Right,
Tucker in Philly, and says Houston is increasingly determined to complete a James Harden trade as soon as today,
right,
league
right.
sources say.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Remember, PJ Tucker too was very unhappy with the organization, right? When it comes to the top down and from the start because he thought they weren't prioritizing him at all. So Steven Silas has for his first NBA gig extremely difficult time, and this means
Mm-hmm.
the best for Philadelphia. Like you have to be happy for everyone in Philadelphia has got to be happy. You've seen your Eagles not doing well this year. Having this guy James Harden come in and be with Joel Embiid and make him better, and Tobias Harris, like
Yeah.
you can score. It's gonna be
So
tough to guard.
they definitely want Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah,
I know that over here.
Tyrese Maxey was a good pickup by Philadelphia. Great player at Kentucky, out of high school, one of the top recruits as well. So
Yeah.
I think that's good. I think Houston just needs to rebuild now. Like rebuild him and John Wall. You can't go wrong, right? Can't go wrong.
John Wall gets paid a lot of money, man.
He does. He does get paid a lot of money for a guy that probably remember this is all reputation, right? If you are really good in college and in high school, and you come to the league and you're okay in the first 5 years, like you're gonna get paid. You're gonna get
Yeah,
paid,
100%.
and that's why he's been injured, but he's a good player. Like no one's gonna discount that. But that
So
this means
unrelated, would you trade Pascal Siakam for James Harden?
absolutely, yes, I would
Even
trade.
if
I
you know
would.
he's only going to be there for a year and a half?
Well, you did it with Kawhi. It doesn't mean you're okay. Okay. James Harden has proven that he cannot win by himself, right? If you intrigue him enough, well, I guess we can't do that because Kawhi obviously didn't want to stay. But if you can intrigue a guy like James Harden to stay, then you do it, right? You maintain a few of your assets and you do that because you want to be a better team. This team currently constructed by the Raptors are not good enough to push for an NBA championship. The goal is always an NBA championship. Always to make yourself better. And even if you're going to lose in a few years, then that's tough. But has Pascal Siakam showed you that he can lead a team to the NBA Finals anytime soon?
No.
Then there's your answer, right? James Harden has done that more. There's your answer, right? Would you
James
trade
Harden's been
Pascal?
around a lot longer as well.
Yeah, well, that is correct as well.
And
too,
has
right?
not been to an NBA Finals.
Because he's in the West. Now he's in the East. He's gonna have a better chance at doing it, right? He ran into the Golden State Warriors. He ran into the LA Lakers
Without Kevin Durant.
Exactly. The Raptors ran into Kevin Durant, but if Kevin Durant was there, the Raptors may not have won that championship.
They probably wouldn't have, but the point is that the Raptors actually won without him. And James Harden had a chance to beat the Warriors without Kevin Durant and still lost.
He had his chances. He squandered those opportunities. Hopefully, once again, change of scenery is probably good. He was in a lot of those adult businesses many nights, right? So hopefully he can bounce back. But hey, do you have anything else to contribute?
I'm just really interested in what is going to happen between today and tomorrow with everything going down. And you know what? We might have to come back again early next week and do another podcast, depending on what happens with the Raptors on Thursday and Saturday night against Charlotte, because this is a 5-game homestand. If they end up with anything
less than 3 wins,
less than 3 wins out of the 5,
you're gonna have to just say, hey, hit the panic button and be like, hey, this is the down year.
You know what? How about we do this then?
Yeah.
How about we do, if something in the wrong, if this goes completely bad, we will do an official 6-man podcast panic button hit live on the show.
Let's do
live on the show.
Let's do it. IG Live, it doesn't matter. We're gonna panic button to the extreme. Let's do that, man. Hey, this is the 6-man podcast. Mike Roach, great episode. Of course, we can talk hopefully more as we see more things progress. We will be back soon. Yes, we'll be back soon. Hopefully next week we will. I'm Brandon Graham from Mike Roach. Keep balling.